This is the Best or Worst podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
All righty, welcome. This is Koji.
And this is Martin.
And this is the Best or Worst podcast. Our society is so focused on celebrity, we sometimes forget that regular people lead interesting lives too. Best or worst moment of your life. Hosts Koji Stephen Sakai, that's me. And M. Martin Mapoma, which is?
That's me.
You. Are here to let your story out. We put people on the spot. What are you going to hear? It could be funny. It could be poignant. It could be sad. You'll know when we know. Best or Worst is a twice weekly podcast on Tuesdays. That's today. We get to know our guests. And on Thursdays, which is 2 days from now, we'll find out their best or worst moment. And today, we are lucky enough to have Tamara Ruppart. How are you, Tamara?
I'm doing well.
Hey.
Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. So you're a filmmaker, you're a director, you're a writer, you're a producer, you're all of it. How did you get into filmmaking?
Oh boy. Well, I started out in theater, actually. That's how I found directing. I started out sort of acting when I was younger, and I discovered directing when I was in college. And it's a whole story, but I knew I was going to be living in Japan after college. I went and taught English in Niigata, Japan. And I took a class in college on multicultural drama where we read plays from female playwrights from all around the world. And I read the play Kokoro, True Heart by Valina Hasse-Houston. And it kind of changed my life because I knew I was going to teach English in Japan. So I was particularly interested in this Japanese story, but I feel like in college, when you study theater and you study theater history, you learn about No and Kabuki and that type of, Japanese theater. You don't really read modern Japanese drama. And I really connected with the main character, Yasuko. And even though she was a Japanese immigrant and she was a mother living in the 80s, I mean, not at all my situation being a New Yorker in my 20s, early 20s. But I felt like I got to know her after then living in Japan and experiencing some difficult cultural moments living in a country that was different from my own. I felt like I identified with Yasuko in a different way, and really just fell in love with Valina's work the more I read it. And then when I was in Niigata, I was there during 9/11. And I'm a New Yorker, and my father was in Tower 2 but he ended up getting out when Tower 1 was hit. They had actually just done emergency drills recently on how to evacuate the buildings quickly. So he actually got his whole office and rounded them out and walked along the walls in the dark and got out. And I went into work the next day in Japan, and my coworker said, well, no matter what, you don't retaliate. And, this was a time before the internet is what it is. And we didn't know for a long time if my dad had gotten out. We didn't even know what tower he worked in because he had just started working in the World Trade Center about 2 weeks before the attacks. So, we didn't know for a long time if he was alive. And so I had sort of an outer body experience that time when I just felt like my father could have easily have been killed. And as a New Yorker, I was feeling very much just missing home, and there I was in a pacifist country. So it was an outer body experience of I understood why my coworkers were reacting their way because of their history and their culture, but I also understood the aggression that Americans were feeling and New Yorkers were feeling. So I just felt really in the middle, and I sort of felt like I had one leg in each culture and perspective in that moment in world history. And I felt like that's kind of what Valina writes about, these like moments in between cultures where you find this like, yes.
No, I was going to say, did you say that after 9/11 happened that they said to you specifically not to retaliate? Or...
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And I had just been to Hiroshima for the third time, like the month before in August, where, they have a moment where that city was bombed, where everyone lays down on the ground for the moment that the bomb actually hit. And so, which is a very interesting gesture. It's a moment of like retaliation or like protest, I guess. And it's also what you look like if you've, been hit by a bomb. So it's a very interesting experience to go to Hiroshima in August, and I had just done that. So anyway, I just out there. I felt like someone who looked like me would have, have different access to a global audience, and someone as a New Yorker. So anyway, I just decided I really wanted to be a director and try and work with Velina. And then I went to graduate school, and everyone says, what makes you different? Why would someone hire you as a director? And I felt like this global perspective continued to come up as a theme of why I was different. And the fact that I wanted to celebrate cultural moments and cultural connections and find moments where, yeah, we all were the same instead of what separated us.
And you went to the New York Film Academy, right, NYFA?
Later I did. I went to
later.
the New School for Drama, which was formerly the Actors Studio in New York.
And then you
went
to point. Okay.
And then I got a job directing. I got a job wanting to do, I guess there were the producers were looking for female directors who did international theater. And so I pitched 3 international plays, and they picked Kokoro for me to direct on their own. And so then when I was directing that play, they said, oh, we'd like to invite the playwright. Do you know her? And I had just moved to LA. And so I went to the opening of Calligraphy to meet Velina. And I met her, and she was, of course, lovely. And she ended up coming to see the play Kokoro that I directed, which was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my life, especially when there were sound issues. But she liked it, and she said, hey, I have a screenplay of Kokoro. Would you be interested in reading it and potentially directing it? And that was then my transfer officially sort of from theater over to film. And so that idea was, I guess in 2011, we sort of discussed that. And that's why we ended up doing Path of Dreams, because someone who looks like me and someone who looks like her telling Japanese stories, even though we both love Japan, it's not someone who doesn't know us would necessarily pick. And for people who are listening, Velina is half Japanese and half African-American. So anyway, that's why we did Path of Dreams as sort of a proof of concept that we could collaborate on a Japanese project.
Yeah, Path of Dreams is one of my favorite short films I've ever seen, I think.
What is it called again?
Path of Dreams.
Path of Dreams. Okay.
Yeah.
Cameron,
why don't you tell us
note of that one?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that movie and what it's about and how you made it?
Yeah. So then when Velina and when I got back to LA and we decided we wanted to collaborate on a story, I had discovered this legend of Ono no Komachi from the Romulus Linney play, 3 Poets, which is about 3 female poets from different countries, from different points in time. And Act 3 is called Komachi. And it's written all in poetry, which was extremely difficult to direct. But I really liked the legend and the research that I had done on her and the poetry that she has left behind. And she's from 9th century Kyoto. So I told Velina about Komachi, and she said, yeah, let's do a little research and see if we can come up with a short story. So it lent itself well, I think, to being a short film because it's just a sort of a simple love story. It doesn't have a lot of subplots. So we started working to make a short film. I had never made a short film. So we sort of said, how do you make a short film, A? And then B, how do you do it in Japan? That was another question. So it took us about 5 years. $72,000 later, beg, borrowing, and stealing. I was working as crew on the TV show Mike and Molly up at Warner Brothers, and everyone knew that I was working on this film. So for years and years, we would go on hiatus. I would go off to Japan and location scout. And we ended up shooting in Niigata, Japan, which is where I had lived when I had been there years ago. And we got a lot of favors. Warner Brothers helped us with the props. I had 3 people from the TV show who had never been to Japan volunteer their time and services and talent and work on the film for free. And our costumer handmade all of our kimono, which was amazing. And she's so talented, and she's just lovely, lovely. So we got a lot of favors and a lot of love on this project, and we ended up shooting 75 hours over 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, sorry. I meant to hit mute.
Wow.
You're
That's
telling
very
us
cool.
you're telling us how in Japan there were some uncomfortable moments of being different. Can you tell us a little bit about those moments?
Sure. So, this is not a PG show, right? Kids are not
No,
listening
it's
to
not
this.
at all.
So,
Real quickly though, are you fluent in Japanese?
sorry, no, just my throat's dry. No, I mean I can get around, but no, I'm not fluent.
Okay, I was just curious. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So, well, one time, sorry, I was in Tokyo with my boyfriend at the time, who was also teaching English, and who's also American. And we missed our train back from the Shinkansen stops at a certain point around midnight to leave Tokyo to go back to Niigata. And we missed our train, and they leave exactly on time. We were 20 seconds late. We saw it pulling out of the station. So the next train was not until 6 a.m. So what are we to do? So we didn't want to spend a ton of money on a fancy hotel room. So we just decided to go to stay at a love hotel.
I was going to say Love Hotel.
wait.
Okay, go
You're
ahead.
gonna have
So
to.
a love hotel, so it's a whole cultural thing, but basically women typically, obviously there are many exceptions, but typically women do not move out of their parents' homes until they're married. So
Okay.
young couples have very little privacy. So there are these things called love hotels that you can rent by the hour to go and have a little time with your significant other.
Wow.
You can just rent it by the hour. And they're kind of famous because they're known for their privacy. So what you do is you generally walk into the lobby and there's sort of it's like a vending machine with keys, and you can pick. Some of them are themed. So you can go and pick, I want the country cottage room. I want the space room. I want the dungeon room. And you put in your money and then the key drops. Great.
Wow.
So we just decided, well, all we needed was a few hours of sleep, just, 5 or 6 hours. So we'll just go and stay at a love hotel. Great. So we go to the district of the love hotels. And as we're walking in, the lights go out in the lobby. We're like, well, that's kind of strange. Okay. So we left. I guess they're closing. I don't know. It's like 1 a.m. by this point. It's strange, but we'll go to the next one. So we just walk down the street. And as we're walking, doors closed, lights out.
Oh.
This happened now about 3 or 4 times. And then I sort of turned around because I heard someone behind us down the street. And then I see a Japanese couple going in to the Love Hotel where we had just been, where the doors had closed. And it dawned on me that they were closing it because they did not want us to stay there. They were letting in the Japanese couples, but not the white couple. So we went into the next one, which did not have a person manning the booth. It was just one of those vending machine ones. And as we go in, great, we're in, there's the vending machine. And then the lights go out in the vending machine. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? So I turn around and there is someone there behind the booth. And she's like, no, closed. So I started sort of arguing with her in Japanese. And basically she was saying that, you don't know what time, it's closed. You're not going to know what time to check out. And so in Japanese, I reiterated, I know what time checkout is. Checkout's at, whatever it was, 9 a.m. And we're actually going to leave earlier. And then a line started to, form behind us. And I was not leaving that window. I was like, here's my $100. You are giving us a key. I do not care what key. I just want to go up and sleep.
So a line for a supposedly closed.
Yes,
hotel.
for supposedly closed love hotel. And I have all these Japanese couples. And she was like, can you move? And I was like, no, you cannot. If you want the rest of this business, you better give me a key.
So was she literally telling you it was closed for you only?
Yes, it was closed for us.
Wow.
We were not welcome. Jeez. So anyway, she gave us a key. Up we go. We got the space room. And there was a round bed. There were things hanging from the ceiling. We did not sleep. We both just laid there. We were like this. You cannot sleep. Like everything was moving and glowing and it was too bizarre. So that's one moment.
Guess where I'm going, Koji.
Yeah. I mean, Japan's a racist place because there's only Japanese in Japan, right? That's how they think of it. And they're the best on the island. And there's nobody else around, they've all, that's just what it is. I mean, there's for everything I love about Japan, I wouldn't want to move. I wouldn't want to live there permanently. There's a lot of problems. I remember one time I was at a meeting in Japan. It was a film meeting. and the president of the company was a female, and she was serving me tea, and I was like, oh, you want? I got up and went to go get the tea because I thought, the president should be one getting me tea, right? Like, it was such a weird, but like all the guys who are under her were being served tea by the person who was the head of the company, and I was like, it's so messed up. This is all, it's very like, and it's kind of like that, it's still very.
Oh wow,
It's like the opposite of American culture,
Yeah.
which is what I find so interesting. I mean, I feel like I learned so much about myself and American culture by living in the opposite.
Yeah.
You realize what challenges you, and you're like, oh, this is strange, and yeah, there are quirks, but there are quirks to our culture too.
Of course,
but-
of course. Oh yeah.
African Americans call an incident like that Tuesday, in the South. Yeah, it's crazy.
But also, like, it's also like there's no trash on the ground and there's no crime. There's crime is very different, the kind of crime. I was actually I was teaching this weekend at UCLA, this retreat, and me and this one student were talking about crime in America, and I gave my class all his pointers about how to survive crime. And this person in Canada was like, this is the most disturbing conversation I've had. You guys have to think about this? I was like, yeah, I think about this all the time. And he couldn't believe that like Americans were actually talking about how to stay safe. And I was like, yeah, this is important. But
in like schools alone, remember the conversation we had about that, Koji, with our kids in school? Yeah. It's crazy.
What do you know what floor your dad was in the Trade Center?
He was on the 17th, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, not too high.
He wasn't above the crash site. That's good.
No, and he got out actually about a block when he was walking away, about a block away. I think that's when the second tower was hit. So yeah, he got out before it was hit.
Okay.
That was a crazy time.
Yeah, it was. I still remember exactly where I was. Go ahead.
What's the best moment in Japan then? What was your best thing that you did there that you'll remember for the rest of your life?
I think, well, Niigata is pretty far north. You can take a ferry over to Vladivostok, to Russia. So we got a lot of snow. So I think some of the snow related stuff, I remember once, we didn't have a car, of course. And so I was at the time very limited to where the trains could take me, and I wasn't as adventurous. Now I go and I've rented cars and been all over and driven to the countryside, but when I lived there, I wasn't as adventurous. And a friend of us took us to this restaurant, onsen, and I think just, being able to go and be in an onsen in the snow and then go and have, just ramen and beer while you're all just warm and cozy in a bathrobe looking out at the snow is just, there's nothing like it.
Martin,
that sounds awesome.
Onsen is like the bath. It's like a bath.
Hot spring,
like hot springs. Yeah. So
yeah.
It's like a thing that they do. Yeah. Although I remember the first time I went, I was a kid with my mom, and then I was freaked out because everyone's naked. I couldn't handle I was like, oh my God, everyone's naked. I can't be in here. I don't want to be. Although the other time, that same trip was traumatic because I went to the sushi restaurant with my mother, and it was a really nice one. And the shrimp was still moving. And
cool.
And I freaked out and I screamed. And my mom was so embarrassed because I was screaming because it was moving, and I didn't want to eat it because it was moving still.
Dude, you were a sensitive kid, man.
And my mom was like, well, I'm basically every once in a while I become a vegetarian because I get freaked out about meat and stuff. I have a hard time eating meat in general. But my mom was so embarrassed, and from that point on, she's like, I'm not taking you to a nice restaurant ever again, especially in Japan. Well, why don't you tell us what you're working on now?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm busy now. Well, I'm about to start directing another play. I think my fourth play at USC, which is a new play by a graduate student there. And I'm gearing up for Kokoro, which is actually the feature that is based on Valina's play. So it's been a long time coming. We've done a lot of revisions of the script. I think Valina's written maybe 11 or more drafts. So yeah, we just finished the deck last week. So Co is out with it as we speak.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, that's cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Tamara. We're gonna come back in a couple days, and we're gonna ask you about your best or worst moment.
Okay.
Really appreciate your time and your stories. I love the stories about Japan, especially the love motel. I knew for a fact you were going to say love motel.
You knew I was going there.
Although
that was crazy.
I do want to mention one thing
crazy.
That people sleep on the ground too outside, right? I've seen kids
yeah.
depending. Yeah,
Wait, homeless kids?
No.
No, just while they're waiting for the train.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
Because because it's pretty safe. I mean, you're probably not going to get rolled or anything's bad is going to happen. I mean, but the first time I remember I was walking in the middle of the night back to my family's house, and I was like, why are all these kids sleeping on the ground? And then my cousin was like, told me what it was. But yeah, it's always very interesting.
Were they all school kids?
I don't know. They're like college. I mean, I feel like they're college kids, but I don't know for sure. I never talked to any of them. But thank you so much for everything, and we'll see you guys in 2 days. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.